Welcome back to another episode of Miltrick Media. I am here with New York City independent filmmaker Joseph Rocco Plescia. Joe, how you doing? Thank you for being here.
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
So how's it going? How's life been?
It's pretty good, man. It's been pretty good. I got a lot of projects in the works right now, but
Yeah, so we were talking about all your projects, your recent projects. You've been doing a lot of music video projects for New York City artists and bands. Most recently, you've worked with Jacuzzi Fire on their last two music videos, right? So Cocaine Fight and Drunk Again.
yes.
Most recent projects for you, right?
Definitely, yep.
So let's talk about those two projects. How did you prepare to film those projects, and what was the treatment like?
Okay, so the first video we did for them was Drunk Again. And I'm sure Pete probably mentioned this when he was on the podcast, but we went down to Miami a few times, had some wild times down there. And I wanted to get involved because he was telling me that he had this project, Jacuzzi Fire, that was going on. So it's kind of like, I've always played music. I've always been like in and out of the realm of music, but haven't been in a band. So it's like, it's great for me because it's like, I'm kind of in a band, but I don't have to like practice. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mentioned to him that I wanted to get involved with that. So me and him went down there, we wrote the song, and then we went back again like about a year later, and we were like, let's film a video for it while we're down there. So we took our camera phones and shot a little bit down there, and then we came back up here and kind of like filled it out with performance takes and stuff like that. So
That's awesome. And then the most recent one, Cocaine Fight, how long did that video take to film?
okay, so how that kind of worked out was we were debating on what song we were going to do another video for. So I actually had to rip out all the walls in my basement and stuff because there was like a lot of mold going on down there. So I was like, all right, well, we have something we can destroy. So I might as well, use this opportunity to, destroy my basement and use it for a video. So I called Pete up. I'm like, yo, like, listen, I got a bunch of walls down here and drywall and stuff that we can run through. So like, what can we do that can kind of like fill in for that? And he's like, oh, we got to do a video for Cocaine Fight. I was like, all right. So come over tomorrow. We shot it in 6 hours. We shot from, I think, 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. I didn't have anyone living below me at the time. So like, because I live in the upstairs and there's another apartment, but no one was there, thankfully. So we shot from 10 to 4 and just destroyed the basement. We were taking baseball bats to like cabinets and stuff like that.
That's a perfect scenario though, because you're going through that with the basement anyway. You get to film a video there. At least you didn't have to deal with landlords or other tenants or anyone else like that, and you could just go fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was a perfect opportunity.
10 p to 4.
Like so
I'm honestly motivated throughout those hours. Like I would get a lot of shit done at night, even though I shouldn't. But like that's the best time to go crazy. If you're filming a music video with your friends, that sounds fun as hell.
Yeah, there was like 7 or 8 of us, and we were just setting up lights, and yeah, it was a great time.
So 6 hours that shot, 6 hours that video took. So what about editing? How long does it take usually to edit a music video, start to finish?
Usually, I have a very weird process. Like I'll shoot it depending on how laborious the shoot is, because you can be really excited by the footage you get, or you could be really like very whatever. It depends on, how excited you are for the actual project itself. But for this, I was stoked. I was like, oh, this stuff looks sick. So let me, I threw it in right away, and I had a rough edit within like, I would say probably 3 or 4 days. I sent it to him. He was like, that's sick. He comes over usually. We'll go through the shots meticulously, and then he'll pick up little blips of stuff that he wants in there, and we'll just work it out. But I think that took me about a week. And then I went back and did some color renovations and stuff, because the one thing I didn't really account for was the lighting situation down there, because there were no lights at that point. So trying to get everything correct while also simultaneously swinging baseball bats and destroying stuff. You don't want your precious lights to get destroyed. So you're kind of like trying to, all right, well, let me put the light over here, but it's going to change lighting, but I don't want it to get destroyed. So it took me a little bit longer to do color. But yeah, I would say probably about 2 weeks total.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know the amount that goes into post-production and editing. You could do color adjustments, all that. That's all done in the software. So when you're editing videos, what software do you use?
Adobe Premiere usually.
Adobe Premiere.
I was taught it on Avid, which is like the worst. It's like
Avid
driving
Media Composer.
Yeah, it's like
Pro
driving
Tools, right?
stick, basically, of like the. And there's a lot of stuff. It's not very user friendly. I think it's that way because it's what the industry professionals have used for so many years that you kind of have to have the training on it. But
Yeah,
Adobe
I've heard
Premiere is
that.
just so much easier.
Yeah, I've used Final Cut, but I've tried getting Adobe Premiere Suite, and I want to get more into it because once you get the suite, you can do Lightroom, you can do Photoshop. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that whole package. I want to try and get into it more. You know what I mean?
They've kind of monopolized the all-in-one package.
Oh, the subscription. They got it on lock. Like, at least they adjusted. They probably knew people are going to pirate this. If we get that subscription bundle, we got it on lock.
Yeah.
You know, insane. But so you use Adobe Premiere Pro. So when did you first start directing films and videos?
I would say probably everyone's got like a different perception of when their start point is, I guess. I mean, I went to film school. I went to Hofstra Film School. So I knew from ever since I was a kid that I wanted to do it. You know what I mean? That I wanted to make films, specifically like action films and comedy films. So, you know, I got big into music in high school, and then I kind of like faded out of it and went back into filmmaking when I was deciding what I was going to do with my life. And then, you know, we started making shorts in college. So I would say probably about 2012, 2013 is when I started making shorts on like a consistent basis.
Yeah.
They weren't very good, but you know, that was when I started.
That sounds fun though, because you're making the shorts in college. You get to work with even like probably a lot of friends you're going to school with, and you use the school's resources too, cameras, stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the one good thing. That was the thing I took into account the most. Not necessarily the education that was there, but like what they had access to.
The facilities, right?
Exactly, because we got chewed out so many times for like stealing equipment that we're using for our own stuff. Had to be for school projects. But if you're in film school and you're paying that much money, steal the equipment. Just take it.
You got to make the most of it. Yeah, the facility. In my school too, if you wanted to get the cameras and recorders, yeah, they got really strict at the end with it, where you had to sign stuff out. There was an online logging system, but you want to make use of it. You want to use as much as you can.
Yeah, just say you're using it for a school project, and don't just go take it to the city and shoot something for yourself.
What are we paying all this money for? We got to make the most of it. Come on,
get in there, bro.
Hofstra, but you were also, because like I went to school upstate, but Hofstra, that's Nassau County, right? So you were still in the city. You have the inspiration of the tri-state area still. That must have been was that sparking up a lot of ideas, like just college life?
It was, but I wish I was in a warmer climate for the winter. I can't do New York winter anymore, dude.
Nah, it's horrible.
It's weighing
abysmal.
on me, you know?
Yeah, it's a bit the slushy snow too. It's not even just regular. It's just attitude snow, caffeine on the floor.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
No good.
So in terms of music video directors, do you have all-time favorite music video directors?
I would say I've got a laundry list of favorite directors. I would say music video wise, I'm blanking on his name, but he did Belly. Who is it? Hype Williams.
Oh, okay,
Hype Williams. Okay. Nice.
Shout out Walter.
Hype Williams,
our studio engineer. Yeah, he came close with the name.
Hype Williams is probably like the first time I looked at music videos in a different light, because I'd always kind of seen them like on MTV and stuff like that, and never really. I guess when I was a kid, I never really considered them an actual art form until I saw something that he directed, and then I saw that obviously there's mad directors that have done music videos and went on to direct feature films like Michael Bay and stuff like that. But he shoots everything super wide, which is how I like to shoot a lot of my stuff. Okay. So he's a big inspiration in that regard. But yeah, I would say probably Hype Williams is the GOAT of music video directors.
That's cool. So let's go through the laundry list. Your favorite all-time directors.
Oh man, dude, there's so many. At the moment, I'm in on John Carpenter a lot. I mean, he's like the greatest horror director of all time. Everyone's saying Jordan Peele is like gonna start rivaling him. So
I heard he came out with a new movie. I gotta check it out. Jordan's new movie.
It was pretty good. I saw it. Yeah, Nope.
Oh, that's what's called Nope?
Yeah. It was pretty good. But yeah, John Carpenter is huge. Tarantino obviously is like, you know, that's everybody grew up. I saw Pulp Fiction when I was way too young, you know what I mean? And that was just classic. Like, I didn't realize that a film could be made like that.
Yeah.
So that also kind of sparked a little bit. And just the James Bond movies have always been a big part of my life when I was a kid.
Classic.
Up until now. So they ruined it with the last one, but it's been rough. But yeah. I would say those three.
What about Scorsese? Is he up there at all for you?
Scorsese's the greatest film director of all time. I mean, there's no question about that.
Legendary.
He's like film school, and as a favorite, like a fan favorite, he's the greatest to ever do it. I think Goodfellas is probably the greatest movie ever made.
Legendary. Yeah. One of the best.
So Rip Paul Sorvino.
Oh, yeah. Rest in peace, Paul Sorvino. That's crazy. I saw that at work a few days ago.
Yeah, they all like, dude. Every mob actor in the past like 2 months has
Ray
dropped
Liotta,
dead,
too.
dude. It's crazy.
I don't even know what happened with Ray. I heard he was on vacation. He was doing a project, and then he died as well.
And he was like only like 58, 59, something like that.
He wasn't old. Yeah, he was probably around like early 60s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's wild. Yeah. But I've asked other guests this in terms of going to school for, let's say, music, media, film production. You went to film school. So if someone is in high school right now, they want to become a film director, do you recommend that they go to college for film?
I think it depends. I would say, I mean, what sucks about college now, I mean, this is obviously not just a film school problem. This is just a college problem, is everything's too expensive and it's not worth, I don't think it was worth the money for the education I got. But I went there, I met people who I still work with to this day. You know what I mean? I worked with instructors there that I'm still friends with, that I still ask for advice to this day.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's worth it. I would say if you're going there and you're doing the bare minimum, because it's all about what you put into it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to film school and you're expecting to go in and do the classes and that's it, and then come out and get an industry job, it's not going to happen for you. You know what I mean?
It's not gonna happen.
You got to hustle, and there's a lot of different things you got to do yourself in order to really propel yourself. You know what I mean? Like the curriculum's not going to do it for you. You know?
Yeah, and it sounds like with what you were doing, you made the most of it with the facilities, trying to network with other professors, students. That's when it becomes worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they had access to cinema cameras, cinema lenses, all this other stuff, like studios and stuff like that, then, okay, you're spending this much money, use that studio, use that equipment as much as possible, you know? Even if they're yelling at you, fuck them. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're there for a reason. You want to make the most of it. Same thing, like, because I went from music industry, but then also audio and mass comm. I would try to access the cameras whenever I could. I didn't know anything at first. I was trying to learn. They had studios, bands, even like some Staten Island musicians who were in Oneonta. They were trying to, if they were there, and other schools, like, they would try and sneak into the studio. I've snuck into the studio.
Yeah.
It closed at 4, but sometimes I was there.
It's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage. You got to stay. You got to stay in that building, the fine arts building, wherever it may be, till 5 or 6 in the morning. You hear the spirits walking around when you're not supposed to be in there, and it fucking gives you some inspiration.
It does.
It was wild times. It was real weird in these buildings after 4 a.m.
Oh yeah.
They had the overnight shifts, like the overnight sessions. They would have with the suites for like editing, filming, all that. It was crazy. Yeah.
There was a time. I mean, like my senior year, obviously, you do a thesis film, which was a year-long class, and obviously spring break came, and it was like, you know, a time for everybody to go. You know, they're going to Miami. They're going to this,
spring
going to
break.
that. I'm sitting in an editing suite. You know, because no one's there. Because you had to also fight to get an editing suite.
Yeah.
You know, there's only like 10 or 12 of them. And you got, you know, 15, 16 kids that have senior films. And then you got everybody else in every other class that wants to use an editing suite. So I was like, no one's going to be here. I'm going to get a bunch of tall boys and I'm going to edit this fucking movie in a week. And I did. And then everybody comes back from their spring break. They're all hungover. Now they got a crunch time.
They need fucking Pedialyte or something to get back to it.
Exactly. Meanwhile, my film's done and I'm showing up to class drunk, you know?
Yeah,
because my shit's done.
You do what you gotta do, but you were productive with it. So if you showed up a little buzz, at least you had the results. You were efficient.
Exactly.
Fuck it, honestly. So you mentioned, well, at least you got to redeem yourself, and at least you got to go to Miami at the end eventually.
Exactly.
Fuck it, why not?
Exactly.
I went in January. I loved it. It was a great time.
Miami is an idea, not a city. You know,
that's an idea. Who knows if it's even real? Honestly, it's one of those places.
I've been so like destroyed there all the time that like I don't even remember really being there. To be honest,
it is what it is. It is what it is. But even with editing, you were saying how you tried to make with editing. Yeah. So, what is your setup looking like when you're directing music videos? What camera do you use? I
used to use a Panasonic Lumix G85, which was when I had no money, and that was like my initial foray into doing it on my own, because I worked at MTV for a while right out of college, and I was doing a lot of interview work and backstage interview stuff, and
that's fucking sick.
Yeah. So I worked with a lot of different artists and saw what they were doing. And one thing MTV taught me is they don't go with permits. They don't do anything the way that you would think a company that's been around for 40 years does things. They don't. You know what I mean? We were shooting on the street. We were stealing shots. It's like this company is like a multi-billion-dollar Viacom is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're not paying for any kind of permits or anything like that. And they're teaching you how to like do all these setups quick, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, if a multi-billion-dollar company's doing this, and they've been doing it for 40 years, then I can do it. You know what I mean? And then I could steal the shots and do this and that and the other thing. So I bought my own camera. I started freelancing a little bit, and then I bought a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, which is like the little $1,200 one. And I've been shooting on it for like 3 or 4 years. I shoot all my stuff on it. I love it because it's a little camera. You could fucking run around, get these ridiculous shots that you wouldn't be able to get with like a big cinema camera, honestly.
Yeah. So even working with MTV, overall, what was that experience like?
It was peaks and valleys, I will say. It was peaks and valleys. But yeah, it was an interesting time. I did a lot of really cool stuff with a lot of celebrities. But at the end of the day, you kind of just gotta like, I think I hit a ceiling creatively there where I was like, all right, I kind of just gotta start going out on my own. And I worked with a lot of people there who left. And they basically, like, I met them all for coffee and stuff like that, like right before I was about to leave, and was explaining like my situation and what I wanted to get involved with. And they were like, well, the only way to truly do creative work is to freelance and to work for all these different companies, work on all these different shows and stuff like that. So, and that's been kind of like my MO ever since then, and hearing that. So yeah, I would say my decision to leave was merited.
But it sounds like that was still a great experience to go through. It sounded exhilarating when you're working for a major company like that.
Yeah. Straight out of college too, I was like,
that's hyped. Amazing. Yeah, man, fresh face, recent college grad. That's your first job. That sounds fun as hell. You got to do some interview work too, right?
Yeah.
Any names? Who'd you get to interview?
I got to interview. Well, I didn't do the interviewing. I shot the interviews, but dude, I did like the Met Gala carpet and stuff like that. I did Tarantino and Kurt Russell while they were like promoting Hateful Eight. I did a lot of the Marvel guys, Tom Hiddleston a few times, who is like one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met in show business, aside from Ethan Hawke. But yeah, them and just a bunch of like reality TV people. I worked with the Jersey Shore people a lot, so.
I got you. Yeah, it sounds like a really unique experience working for them and going through that. So you even mentioned how action films, that sounds like that is your favorite genre. So why action films?
I think it's just, I don't know, man. Like I think the moment I knew I wanted to make films was the moment in GoldenEye. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The
James Bond.
The James Bond movie in GoldenEye, when he like drives the motorcycle off the cliff and swan dives into the fucking plane as it's plummeting to Earth, and he jumps in and he gets it and he takes off. I was like, I have to make something like this. Like this is like this is better than anything I've ever seen.
That shot was insane. Imagine how long it took to get that. Just even like those big budget movies, how they get that shit done.
It's crazy. Honestly.
Yeah, it is. So even growing up, so with music video directing, and even you said that you always loved being around music. So who are your biggest music influences growing up? Your biggest musical influences?
I was a huge metal kid.
Yeah.
I was a huge metal kid. I loved Iron Maiden. I loved Slayer. I loved like all those bands. And then I kind of went full indie in high school, Yeah. I was listening to like Bon Iver and shit out of nowhere. And then and I feel like I found like the middle ground now. So I'm like big into a lot of like the new punk acts and stuff like that.
I got you.
So there's a lot of female fronted punk acts that are out now that are actually really cool.
Yeah.
Like Amyl and the Sniffers and Mannequin Pussy and all these other.
I heard of Mannequin Pussy.
Mannequin Pussy is very good. I've seen them. I saw them when I was in Atlanta.
Oh, sure, you've been to Atlanta?
Yeah, I went to Shaky Knees.
Oh, the festival. Holy shit. That festival looks sick.
It was awesome, dude. It was sick. It was actually my friend who recommended that we go. And I was like, all right, I'll just go. But I haven't been to a festival since before COVID. So I was like, I might as well go to this.
Yeah, last one I went to was See Here Now last September. It was in Asbury Park on the beach. That was the first one I was back to.
Nice.
That was a cool festival, yeah.
I love Asbury Park, too.
Yeah, it's amazing, yeah. It was amazing, yeah. So you mentioned even once you left MTV, you knew that you wanted to do freelancing, and that's where you're able to have the most creative freedom. I've done a lot of freelance work as well. So with freelancing, it's really competitive because you need to find as many clients as possible, and you want to remain autonomous.
Yeah, and you kind of want to keep your own unique voice in a way. You kind of want to have your own trademarks where people come to you for a certain thing. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's some gigs where you're going to have to pay the bills and just do it. You know what I mean? That's just the way the game goes. But you want to be able to be, people think of what kind of style they want. They're like, oh, well, I know Joe could fucking do that, you know? Then they come to you for it.
You're top of their list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard, man. It's like when you're not working, you're also working. You're trying to find work when you're not working. And when you're working, you also got to keep trying to find work. So
yeah, 100%. But people don't realize you need to be competitive in order to be on top of your game and also stick out. It's a real competitive industry.
Yeah.
You know? What do you love about freelancing? What do you love most about freelancing?
I think it's just the flexibility, honestly. It's like, and I'm a fireman too, also. So it helps me to have that as my gig, because a lot of guys who freelance also have like a secondary gig, whether it's they'll buy a $60,000 RE Alexa and then rent it out to a rental house, and then that's like their passive income. But to have another gig, and then, if I get, because I used to have to take like these like really shitty, like terrible gigs that were like only paying like a little bit of money, but it's like, what else do I have going on? I gotta work and do something. And it's like the worst shoots. It's where people are like, losing their minds on you and stuff like that. And it's like, now it's like, I'm just not gonna do it. You know what I mean? So
even advice for other filmmakers who want to get started, getting clients and building their portfolio. You have a portfolio, you have a Vimeo where all your projects are listed.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have to new filmmakers in terms of starting their portfolio? How do they do that?
Make a reel. Start making your own films and make a reel of it. When I first interviewed at MTV, I was in the process of putting a reel together, but I hadn't sent it to them. I sent my resume out. I had a resume. I bullshitted it. I didn't even think about it. I had a couple things on it, but I sent that out. They interviewed me, and I had just finished my reel like the day before they interviewed me. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I just built this reel of stuff I shot, this and the other thing. They're like, all right, yeah, send it to us. So I sent it to them. I got the gig like the second they saw it. And
So
it was all films that I made in college. It wasn't any professional industry work or anything like that. It just, I had a couple shots that looked good enough to put together in a reel, and it worked out.
So even let them know, what is a reel? What is that compiled of?
So basically just take everything you've made and take the best shots out of all those things and build a reel. So it looks like you've done a lot, Take a shot from every setup in every short film you've ever made. If you're in college and you have, a little portfolio of that, put it together, make it under 60 seconds, and that's your calling card.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the thing that speaks the loudest in terms of like what you can do. So
do you do live show videography as well? Do you shoot live events?
I do. We actually just shot a gig film, I'll call it, for Jacuzzi Fire.
Oh,
So,
yeah, you were talking about that.
yeah.
What details can you share about that with us? Even just little breadcrumbs.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be out soon. I mean, it's already cut. I just got to do some color patches on it and stuff. But they just released their first album, Needle Beach, which I worked on a couple songs for. So they had a release party at Phoenix Studios, which you and I both know very well.
Yeah, that looks pretty fun.
Yeah. So Pete's an engineer there, so he got the room and he set up all the audio equipment. So me and a bunch of buddies from my college, we all have the same camera. So I was like, let's all get together. We'll put some minds together and we'll shoot this thing. So we shot a 5-camera gig film that's coming out soon.
Oh, so, 5 camera.
5 cameras, yeah.
What cameras did you use?
We used 3 Blackmagic pockets. So there was a wide. There was 2 close-up cameras, which was me and my friend John Bewley. So we were shooting, we were roaming in between whoever was playing. There was a drum camera set up right in front of him, and then we put a GoPro. We duct taped it to the mic. So there's like a super wide, whenever he's singing into the mic, you just see like his face blown up. So,
yeah. What's your favorite camera angle when you're recording and shooting?
Oh, I love anything ultra wide. Like, I don't know if you know what an ultra wide is, but it's like,
I'm not 100% sure. Let me know. What is
like, I can't even describe. Like, it's,
I know fisheye.
It kind of, fisheye. It's kind of like fisheye, but if there's fisheye and then there's rectilinear. So rectilinear basically is a fisheye focal length without any of the distortion. So all the lines that would be, because the fisheye kind of curves the lines. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
A rectilinear basically just puts those lines back in perspective and in proper perspective. So it makes everything look fucking huge.
Rectilinear is called?
It's rectilinear, wide angle rectilinear. So yeah, it just makes everything look huge. So if you're shooting somebody low angle on an ultra wide, it makes them look like they're like titans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just any shot looks cool to me. So that's why I'm a big Hype Williams fan. But yeah, anything low angle, ultra wide is like my favorite.
Because even when I took some classes back in school, I learned a little bit about the different angles of film and what that conveys. How, like, if you're looking up at the subject or looking down, like looking up, that can mean like you're trying to show grandiosity or power, right?
Yeah,
if
it's
you're
the hero
down,
shot, basically.
So what shots are your go-to when you're directing music videos?
I mean, obviously, you want the client to look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the hero shot is a favorite. I've been trying to get more into zoom photography, like 70s style stuff.
Oh,
so
sick.
I bought a cinema zoom, so I'm starting to do more work with that. But yeah, man, it kind of depends on what the project dictates and what the artist wants.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of take that and take what you see for the project as well and work with it. But I always go with the wide angle, especially for a hero shot or something like that. Like that always makes everybody happy, you know.
Yeah.
And then you can start to go in and experiment a little bit. You kind of got to get a little bit for them and a little bit for you, you know.
Yeah.
So
you even mentioned how you've done some. So you mentioned how even with Jacuzzi Fire, that project, you are a songwriter as well. You've been involved with music a lot throughout the years. So what other projects are you working on in terms of, let's say, songwriting as a musician?
I mean, mainly just Jacuzzi Fire, to be honest.
Yeah. You do songwriting too, stuff like that?
Yeah, we'll usually just like fuck around with stuff like that.
I got you.
But
that's cool.
Yeah. But Jacuzzi Fire has been like like I said, it's like a band you're in, but you don't have to practice for. So
No, yeah, because the open source thing, yeah, it's cool. But you mentioned how you were co-writing a couple of songs, so that's cool. So you dipping your toes in numerous avenues.
I also like to score my own shorts usually.
Oh, so let's talk about that. How do you do that?
People on, like, I'll bring in. It's the same. It's kind of like the same ethics as Jacuzzi Fire. It's like, oh, this person would sound really good on a solo. Let's bring them in, or I'll do a solo for something. But yeah, we scored. I have an upcoming film, The Stu Nods, that Pete was in. Pete from Jacuzzi Fire was in, and a lot of the musicians who are on Needle Beach are on the album. Well, the soundtrack rather. But yeah. Just bringing musicians in for that is fun. He's mixed that. Yeah.
So when it comes to making films, music videos, what do you love most about filmmaking?
Honestly, it's just the whole process is like, it has its own like ups and downs. You know what I mean? Like, I love shooting stuff. I always love shooting stuff. But like when you're shooting your own thing, it's also nerve-wracking. But it's just, there's a weird excitement to all of it. You know what I mean? It's a feeling that you don't get from any other kind of work. You know, especially when your shit's together. If your shit's not together, it's going to be a terrible time. You know, but if your shit's together and you know what you're doing and you know how to get it, it's a great feeling because you're literally watching something in your brain come to life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, come to life. Do you like editing more or shooting more?
I like editing my own stuff a lot, and I like shooting other people's stuff a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like shooting my own films because I've done it. I know how to do it, but having to worry about camera while also having to like direct people in acting and all that. I tried doing it all. It's hard.
Sounds like a lot. Like the whole process together, the pressures on your shoulders you're doing, trying to multitask like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know where I want the camera to go. I know where I want to do this, that. But then there's a lot of other technical elements that you got to worry about, which if you're a DP, you only got to worry about that. But if you're doing that and then you got to direct, something's going to get fucked up, I think. But that's just my brain. But yeah. It's
all good. So what other projects are you working on currently? What do you have in the works?
So we have this Jacuzzi Fire gig film that's coming out. We're possibly going to do another Jacuzzi Fire music video. We haven't decided for what yet. I'm working on possibly 2 more Scum Shots videos with Ricky and Jamie. And I have a possible short coming up as well. So
oh, sick.
Yeah.
So even in your Instagram bio and on your social media, you have your portfolio in the bio, the link, at least to your Vimeo, that has numerous different films and stuff you've worked on. So let the audience know, what is in that portfolio?
There's a lot of music video work. There's a lot of student films that I made when I was in college. Slapdash Vendetta is in there. That was like my big senior thesis film that I worked on. That was kind of like an ode to James Bond movies of the day.
So let's tell them more about Slapdash Vendetta. What was that project?
So basically, my senior film of Hofstra at college, I had to kind of like come up with an idea. I wanted to like let go of some shit that was cathartic. You know what I mean? Like my childhood obsession with like spy movies and stuff like that. So I was like, let me write something like that. Like an aging James Bond movie, basically.
I got you.
Kind of like Austin Powers meets like something more brutal, I guess. And this was before Kingsman came out. So it was like, I know it got compared to Kingsman a little bit, but you know, whatever.
It's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was basically about like an aging spy who's like out of his realm, doesn't have like, you know, a perception on like reality anymore. And he's being paired up with like a female secret agent, the classic duo. He doesn't respect her, that type of deal. And they have to take down like his arch nemesis, this white Russian character. So
I got you. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah. So besides the reel and what you mentioned, how even the filmmakers, they want to get started, make a reel. You talked about your portfolio. What other projects you have going on for the rest of 2022?
2022. Well, I'm trying to do a kung fu movie. So,
oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. We're working that out right now. We're gonna do a couple fights. So we're still in like the pre-production process of that. So I've never done anything as like ambitious as that, and it's only a short. But yeah, I have a choreographer. My cousin John's a choreographer, so he's kind of putting this together. So. We're gonna do 3 or 4 rehearsal days, and then we're shooting on a catamaran in the middle of the ocean. So
hell yeah, that sounds awesome.
Be fun.
Where can we find you on social media platforms? Let the audience know all of your socials.
So I'm not on Twitter, and I refuse to be on Twitter because I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble if I'm on Twitter. But my Instagram is Rocco Plescia, Plescia. So
TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, anything like that?
My Vimeo is also Rocco Plescia. And I do not have a YouTube either, unfortunately.
Okay. TikTok, anything like that?
No, nothing.
But the Vimeo, like you mentioned, that is right in the middle of your Instagram profile, right? It's in the bio.
Yeah,
check it out.
There's a link to it in my Instagram. So I like to keep it nice and simple, you know?
I got you.
Keep it on Instagram, and then
they can find you there.
Vimeo,
You got it all listed there.
Yeah.
I got you. Nice. That's awesome. So, Joe, thank you for sitting down with me on this episode of Miltrick Media, independent filmmaker from New York City, music video directing, and plus much more. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Miltrick Media, and we will see you soon.